TzephanYah. Its name means the Yahweh's treasure. In fact, there are several names, and as you guys know, the meanings of the names give us another revelation or prophecy of what Yahweh is trying to tell us, other than through the letter. So, as I said, Yahweh has treasured, or the treasure of Yahweh, whom Yahweh hid. The connection is in the fact that whatever you treasure, you tend to hide so that nobody may take it. That's why it is connected with a treasure, right? So, whom Yahweh has treasured, or the treasure of Yahweh. Then we have, well, before I read the meanings, I'll read the first verse. The word of Yahweh which came to Zephaniah, son of Cushi, son of Gedaliah, son of Amariah, son of Chizkiah, in the days of Yoshiyahu, son of Ammon, sovereign of Yahudah. So when we are given such a long line of names, it is to tell us that they were all set apart, they were all great men, and also so that we may understand another thing or revelation through the meanings of the names. So it would be the treasure of Yahweh, my blackness. I'll see Kushi right here. Kushi says their blackness, but it should be my blackness unless it was Kushay. So my blackness, there are two ways in which we could see this. For instance, Yahushua, who is the Messiah, who is hidden by the right hand of the Father, hidden in the heavens, and who obviously is a treasure, for he paid for our sins. It is believed that truly his flesh was dark, not like they have painted him or painted the false Messiah in order to fool or in order to perpetrate most of the culture in which we live. So we could say him whom Yahweh has treasured and hid is my blackness, came in black. We could also say regarding the last, remember that the Ark of the Covenant is a treasure box. The treasure is within it. And Yahweh said that he would dwell in darkness. He will dwell in the darkness within the most set apart place. Darkness is blackness. And like I said, the treasure of Yahweh, in this case, in this interpretation, can be connected to the Ark of the Covenant. And the Ark of the Covenant as a person is the last, just like Yahushua is the temple. The last is the Ark of the Covenant. So in the literal, when it comes to the flesh, we could make a connection of whom is hidden with the Father came in black, or the treasure of Yahweh, as in the Ark of the Covenant, is in the blackness or in dwelling in darkness, like he said that he would. And that refers not only to the fact that the Ark of the Covenant would be in the dark, in the set apart place, the most set apart place, but also by the fact that the last, as Zorobabel, would be born in confusion. So he would be in darkness regarding himself, regarding his mission, regarding who he is, what he came to do, where he comes from, etc. So he comes in darkness. Not only that, since he comes as a prodigal son, he would fall in sin because he will be born during the apostasy, and therefore that would be another type of darkness in which Yahweh would inhabit within the body of the Son of Man, a man that came from Adam who had sinned. So I hope that's understood. So the treasure of Yahweh, whom Yahweh has treasured, will come in darkness to bring the greatness of Yahweh by proclaiming the sayings of Yahweh, and Yahweh will strengthen him, and Yahweh will save him and his people, those who praise Yahweh. So that's the message that we get from each of these names. And just to confirm it, let's go and see each of the names. Like I said, TzephanYah is whom Yahweh has treasured. I already showed that one. Oh, there you go. TzephanYah. Then Kushi, their blackness or his blackness. Then we have Gedaliah. Yahweh is great. Gedal comes from, well, Gadal, which is he became great. Gadol, as you guys know, is also great, as in the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, or the Melech Gadol, the great king. So you see here whom Yahweh has made great. Then comes Amariyah. Amar is the verb to say. So the sayings of Yahweh, but waiting for the concordance. Let me just refresh each and every one of these because I guess they got stuck. Maria, Yahweh speaks, Yahoo has promised, whom Yahweh spoke of. So as you can see, it has to do with speaking, saying, or promising, because what Yahweh says he will do, so it can be taken as promise. Then we have Chizkiyah, as you can see, the might of Yahweh. Yahweh is my strength. Say whom Yahweh has strengthened. As we know, we can do all things through Mashiach who strengthens us. So Yahushua came to become the strength that the last will use to fulfill his part. Here we have, okay, in this case, a bit different. Well, not much really. Whom Yahweh heals. I said whom Yahweh saves. Whom Yahweh heals, which salvation and healing is pretty much the same. Interestingly enough, as you can see, even though it is pronounced Yoshiyah, instead of a vav is a letter aleph, which comes second, and it says that it comes from this verb, which is ashyah, and could be said eshyah, meaning the fire of Yah, the fire of Yahweh. But in this case, this verb eshyah means support, foundation, or healing, like we just saw. It could be said also the pillar or column of Yahweh. But like I said, Esh Yah, that's the fire of Yahweh. So it confirms what I was saying regarding manifestation of the fire, the consuming fire, just like Mashiach the first came as the water of life. And then we have Amon. In this case, once again, instead of a letter Ayin, it's a letter Aleph. So it means a little bit something different, which in this case is skilled workman, master workman. So somebody who is a professional, a master at what he does, at his work. Also, because of how it is written, well, let me go to this root. Artificer, architect, master workman, skilled workman. It comes from Aman. Aman is faithful, confirmed, support. As in, when you are an architect, you gotta make the building faithfully according to the laws of physics and everything, so that it doesn't come down. And it needs a foundation, just like Yahushua, our faith, is our foundation, and he's the Amen, which is the same root. The Amen, Emet, Emunah, same root, Aman. So Amon has to do with the faith. Somebody who is a master workman at what he does, but mainly at faith. And then Yahudah, he praises Yahweh. So with that confirmed, and there's the other one that I mentioned that was a bit different, I'll say it again. Him whom Yahweh has treasured will manifest in darkness as my blackness, and Yahweh will make him great as Yahweh promised. As Yahweh said, Yahweh will strengthen him and heal him of that darkness, in the sense of what I was mentioning as the prodigal son. And Yahweh will heal him, for he is a master workman, for he is faithful, the faithful witness who praises Yahweh. So, as I always explain, mainly at the beginning of a book written by one of the prophets of Yahweh, in general, every prophet represents the coming of the last, the prophet like Moshe. So every prophet, like this prophet TzephanYah, represents the last. But every prophet prophesies in one way or another about what Mashiach did, in the sense that anything that the prophets prophesied about either manifested with Mashiach or can only happen after Mashiach fulfilled what he fulfilled. So the prophets prophesied of Mashiach because the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach. But the prophet himself who gives the testimony represents the witness like Moshe. So that's why the names reveal the coming of the last. So I'll continue. And well, in fact, here, as you can see, the fact that he comes from Yahudah, from Chizkiah, connects with Yahushua HaMashiach. But I'll continue. Verse 2. I shall snatch away all from the face of the earth, declares Yahweh. I shall snatch away all from the face of the earth, declares Yahweh. Not only the Christians in the rapture as they believe, but all will be snatched away. I snatch away man and beast. I snatch away the birds of the heavens and the fish of the sea and the stumbling blocks with the wrong, when I shall cut off man from the face of the earth, declares Yahweh. So he's prophesying about what is about to happen in times as the last manifests, just like it was represented by the meanings of the names of Zephaniah's ancestors. So when the last comes is when Yahweh will fulfill this through the plagues, the seals, the trumpets, and the bowls of wrath. I shall snatch away all from the face of the earth, declares Yahweh. This is confirmed well in a lot of parts of scriptures, but one of those would be in Yirmiyahu, in which Yirmiyahu prophesies about something that connects with the very beginning of this creation, of this reality. I wanted to also show it in Hebrew, but it might take a little bit of time, so I'll just show real quick here. See how it says, in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void. Without form and void. And darkness was on the face of the deep. So that is the second verse of scripture. And now look at this. In Yirmiyahu, which is a prophet that came way after the creation, who is prophesying about something that would come at the very end of this reality that was created there on Genesis 1. We read that he says, I beheld the earth, and indeed it was without form and void, and the heavens they had no light. So Yirmiyahu is seeing the earth, and he saw how there was nothing on earth. The earth came to the same state in which it was right before Yahweh created everything. So Yahweh will bring the earth at the end of it to the same state in which it was before he even made light. And that is because he will make a new heavens and a new earth. So just like we just saw on Genesis 1, we see that Yirmiyahu says, I beheld the earth, and indeed it was without form and void. And these words are exactly the same. I'll do it here since it's a better translation. I just wanted to show it in Hebrew so that you see it's the same word, which actually in Hebrew is very special wording. It just doesn't happen that frequently. Just this 2 times across the entire scriptures, and one more, but a little bit like written a little bit different. Just the 2 words appear in Isaiah, and they are still connected to this point. But I won't go to Isaiah to not make it longer. So in verse 2 of Genesis, we see Veha'aret, and the earth, Haita, was Tohu Vabohu, void and without form, in chaos. Tohu Vabohu. So you see these words right here. These are very important in Hebrew, and there are teachings about these 2 words and what they mean, what they represent, and of course different opinions. But this is pretty much like the most simple state of the matter when Yahweh decided to create it in order to give it form. So right after that, he begins bringing light out of darkness, and then separating the waters, etc., etc. So in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth was tohu vabohu. So if we go to Yirmiyahu 4:23, it says, and I looked at the earth, and I'm going to go back a little bit. For my people are foolish. They have not known me. They are stupid children, and they have no understanding. That's very sad. For we know how true it is in the fact that we were very stupid in what we were doing, what we were believing, what we were following. And we see how that foolishness many times becomes a trap or an obstacle for others to join the truth, the true doctrine. So my people are foolish. They have not known me, for they are stupid children, and they have no understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good, they have no knowledge. So because of this is that the next verse is going to happen. I looked at the earth and saw it was formless and empty, and the heavens, they had no light. Verse 3. And the heavens, they had no light, just like in Genesis 1, when right after the earth was tohu vabohu, he made the light during the first day of creation. So in verse 23, I looked at the earth, Raiti et haaretz beinei, and behold, it was tohu vabohu. So you see the same 2 words, tohu vabohu. This is what pretty much Zephaniah is prophesying here. I shall snatch away all from the face of the earth, declares Yahweh. I snatch away men and beasts. I snatch away the birds of the heavens. That's why Yahweh says in verse 20, 4. And I looked at the mountains and saw they shook, and all the hills were swaying. But it was not that one. Let me see. It was the 25th. I looked and saw there was no man, and all the birds of the heavens had fled. So men existed, but it was no longer on earth. Yahweh knew what birds were, but there were no birds in the heavens. I looked and saw the garden land was a wilderness, and all these cities were broken down to the presence of Yahweh by his burning displeasure. So I snatch away men and beasts, I snatch away the birds of the heavens and the fish of the sea. But this is even better. And the stumbling blocks, that is what has made the apostasy happen. The enemy is a stumbling block. And, well, we know that Mashiach becomes a stumbling block for those who don't believe. But that is because of the fact that they don't believe. Their unbelief is actually their stumbling block, the stumbling block. The fact is that if you don't believe in Mashiach, you're doomed. Therefore, they see him as what is making them fall. So, and the stumbling blocks with the wrong, when I shall cut off men from the face of the earth, declares Yahweh. And I shall stretch out my hand against Yahudah. This is key. Remember that Yahushua came and he said that he came for his people. But like John 1 says, he came to his people and his people did not accept him. That's why he cursed the fig tree, which represents Yahudah. So Yahushua came to his people, but his people rejected him. So now the last comes against his people. And that's why he will be hated by the people. And I say against in the sense that they are all against Yahweh. And therefore, since he is sent by Yahweh and he's now bringing justice, then it will be a spiritual war. As Yahushua said, repent, lest I come to you and fight with them with the sword of my mouth. So, and I shall stretch out my hand, not my arm, but my hand. Remember that Yahushua is the arm, the last is the hand. So that confirms what I was saying. Plus, it is obvious by the fact that he's talking about what would happen in the end times. And I shall stretch out my hand against Yahudah and against all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and cut off every trace of Baal from this place. Listen to this. Cut off every trace of the Lord from this place. The names of the idolatrous priests with the priests. I want to show something here. Let me go to the TzephanYah here in the concordance. That was verse 5 of it? No, 4 right here. So you see, and I know you guys know, but just in case for others who may be new or listen to this later on, if we go to the verse, to the concordance, we click on it, you'll see that it says Baal, Lord. So Yahweh is against people calling him Lord, because it is the name of Satan. Because remember that another name for Satan is Baal. So going back, it says, and cut off every trace of the Lord from this place. So Yahweh is promising that he will destroy everything that has to do with the Lord. So we should get rid of the Lord from our vocabulary, from our mind, from our heart, so that we don't get destroyed with it. We got to be careful. We have to avoid anything that has to do with the Lord, Baal, for Yahweh hates that, and he will destroy that. And if we are part of it, because if we may have become one with the Lord, as many people pray to do, well, to basically become one with him through their words, through their prayers, through their worshiping, through their doctrines, then they will have to go through that same destruction. That's why he then mentions the names of the idolatrous priests with the priests. So he will destroy everything that has to do with the Lord, even his priests, and the names that they use for their idols. So not only the Lord, but Jesus, Jehovah, Mary, God, and any other false title that refers to Satan. So it's just a matter of being a little bit careful, study a little bit, and not much, just a little bit. As you guys can see, we just did it in one click. You read this, you come here, you click it, and then you have Baal is the Lord. What are we doing? Right? So it's not something that is too hard for people to do. And that's why Yahweh said here, sadly, for my people are foolish. They don't want to learn. They have no understanding, and they don't want to understand. That is the worst part. Obviously, there are some who want to understand, but if they want to, Yahweh will bring the teaching to them and they will understand it, so they are not foolish. So I'm talking about those who reject it, of course, as Yahweh is doing here. So, and cut off every trace of the Lord from this place, the names of the idolatrous priests and with the priests, and those bowing down. So not only the priests who preach of Baal and use names of idols, but also those who bow down to those names and to the Lord, and those bowing down to the host of the heavens, the host of the heavens. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, I don't do that. I don't bow down to the host of the heavens. If they are bowing down to Baal, they are doing that because Baal is Jupiter. He was known as Jupiter to the Romans, as Zeus to the Greeks. So it is the same. They are worshiping Jupiter. It is Moloch, as Amos 5:26 says, that they were worshiping for the 40 years that they were in the desert. They were worshiping Moloch and Kium, Jupiter and Saturn, two planets that are in the heavens. And Jupiter is the king of the heavens, in the sense that it is the king planet. So he is the leader of the host of the heavens. Others worship the moon. Others worship Venus. Others worship every single one of them. So they are worshiping the stars. The stars represent the angels. So by worshiping an angel, as if we were the Most High, that people, those people are committing idolatry. And those bowing down to the host of the heavens on the housetops, and those bowing themselves, swearing by Yahweh and swearing by Malcham, which is Moloch, Milcom. Here it appears as Malcham. Let me go and see how it is in Hebrew, verse 5. Yeah, Be Malcham. As you see, here is the root of the name. Be is in, so the name would be Malcham. This same four letters could be pronounced Milcom, which is another name that they give him. And this three can be pronounced Moloch, which has as its root Melech, which is king. So he claims to be a king and he used that as his name. So he became Moloch from Melech. Mem Lamet Kaf. So, and those bowing down to the host of the heavens. Also, I need to see that as well. Verse 5. Lizba. Litzba. This would be to the host. Seba is host or army. Hashamaim of the heavens. Seba is the singular of Sabaoth, armies. As when it says Yahweh Sabaoth, Yahweh of hosts, right? Remember that Sabaoth is a title that, according to some writings, the Gnostic books, was a name for Lucifer, Halel. So by Yahweh telling us here that they are worshiping the host of the heavens, he's referring to the host of the second heaven, represented by the stars that we see in the first heaven, and that will be Halel, Lucifer, who happens to also be called Baal, Moloch, Jupiter, Zeus, etc. So now we'll continue. And those bowing down to the host of the heavens on the housetops, and those bowing themselves, swearing by Yahweh and swearing by Malcham, Moloch. So those who swear to the Almighty and then they swear to the false mighty one. There are people who use the name Yahweh, but then they call him God, right? They call him Lord. So they are swearing to one name, but then using another one. You cannot love two mighty ones. You will love one and hate the other. And as we know, Yahweh hates those who are lukewarm. He will vomit them from his mouth, as we see in Revelation 3. This is being lukewarm, to use the name of Yahweh and then use the name of the Lord, Satan, Baal, Milcom, etc. That is a sin. And those who turn away from following Yahweh, as we know, the only way to follow Yahweh is through Yahushua, for he's the only way to the Father. So he's pretty much saying anybody who doesn't accept Yahushua, they will go through this destruction, for they are under Baal, no matter if they know or not, if they understand it or not. For they will know, but they won't accept it. They won't understand it. It is the only way they can be actually judged. And that's why the two witnesses must preach the true doctrine about this whole thing throughout the whole world. That's why Yahushua said, when the good news, the news of the kingdom are preached throughout the whole world, then the end will come. And those who turn away from following Yahweh and who have not sought Yahweh or inquired of him. This is important because some people who may not may not pray at all, may not seek the Almighty, may think that it is better since it is better to not have the Almighty than to have a false one. And we are seeing it's pretty much the same, because they will be punished, because every human was given the ability to think, to reason, to analyze, in order to come to understand that there is a creator, but they do not sought him or inquire of him. Well, they did not seek him or inquire of him, as we see here. So, and those who turn away from following Yahweh and who have not sought Yahweh or inquired of him. Hush in the presence of the sovereign Yahweh. For the day of Yahweh is near. The day of Yahweh is near. And it is indeed near. Obviously, to Yahweh, all days are the same. But imagine the difference between the time in which TzephanYah said those words and the time in which we are living. If we go to Revelation 6, this is pretty much when the 7 years begin. On Revelation 6:1, that's when the last week of Daniel starts. If we go to the 12th verse, it says, and I looked when he opened the sixth seal, and I saw a great earthquake came to be, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And the stars of the heaven fell to the earth as a fig tree drops its unripe figs, being shaken by a strong wind, just like when Yahushua, I repeat, cursed the fig tree. Now the sky is gonna drop its stars like a fig tree drops its figs. being shaken by a strong wind. And heaven departed like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place. And the sovereign of the earth, and the sovereigns of the earth, and the great ones, and the rich ones, and the commanders, and the mighty, and every slave, and every free one, hid themselves in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us. Hide us. Zephaniah, as in the name of the prophet TzephanYah, whom Yahweh hides. Hide us from the face of him sitting on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb, because the great day of his wrath has come. And who is able to stand? Because the great day of his wrath has come. And it is because of this verse that I say that it is during the sixth seal that the millennium begins, the last 1,000 years, because one day is 1,000 years. One day to Yahweh is like 1,000 years. So the great day of his wrath is that millennium, which will begin on the sixth seal that we are seeing here. Hush in the presence of the sovereign Yahweh, for the day of Yahweh is near. For Yahweh has prepared a slaughter. He has set apart his invited ones. This will happen about a year and a half before the half of the last week of Daniel, meaning around 2 years after the beginning of the last 7, when there's still 5 years to go, but to the chosen few, only a year and a half, which is the time for the trumpets. If we go to Revelation 19, we read that by that moment, the 7 years passed already. The wedding of the Lamb will happen, the marriage supper of the Lamb, and then we have to go and fight at the last war of Armageddon. And right after it says, and I saw one messenger standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the birds that fly in the mid-heaven, come and gather together for the supper of the great Elohim, to eat the flesh of sovereigns, and the flesh of commanders, and the flesh of strong ones, and the flesh of horses, and of those who sit on them, and the flesh of all people, free and slave, both small and great. For Yahweh has prepared a slaughter. He has set apart his invited ones. And it shall be in the day of the slaughter of Yahweh, and it shall be in the day of the slaughter of Yahweh that I shall punish the rulers and the sons of the sovereign, and all such as are clad in foreign garments. Foreign garments. This is not talking about some racism or xenophobia from the Most High. It is talking about those who are not covered by Mashiach. Those who are not covered by the blood or the flesh of Mashiach. Remember that flesh in Hebrew is bazar. Besorot are good news, because when the father of a house would bring flesh, would bring meat to eat, then those were good news because he brought life for another day. So Yahushua came and brought his flesh to become that which we needed for eternal life. So that's why those are good news, the Besorot. So we are covered by the good news. We are covered by his flesh. But they are not. They are covered by something foreign. They are covered by something that is alien to the Most High, alien to the Spirit. So that's why they will be rejected, because they don't have the true garments that one must have to enter the kingdom of Yahweh, because flesh and blood will not enter his kingdom. It shall be in the day of the slaughter of Yahweh that I shall punish the rulers and the sons of the sovereign and all such as are clad in foreign garments. Those who are not part of Yahweh through Yahushua will be punished. That's it, in general. Obviously, the punishment will be dependent on the heart of the person and his actions and everything. And and I shall punish on that day all who leap over the threshold, who fill their masters' houses with violence and deceit. Those who go across the line. And I shall punish on that day all who leap over the threshold, who fill their masters' houses with violence and deceit. Remember that Yahweh is the sovereign or master of all, for he created everything and everything belongs to him. In fact, our bodies are temples, therefore houses. So if we have in our hearts violence and deceit, then we would be doing this. A lot of people who claim or think to be free would read this and say, oh, I don't have a master. I don't serve no one. Well, that would be double negative. So I serve no one. So they think that this wouldn't manifest with them, but in their heart, they have violence. They're driving the car and they see somebody and they want to kill that somebody for whatever reason, something happened in the street. They keep hate for anybody who has done anything which they deem as offensive. So also, obviously, those who serve someone, those who work for somebody and are always complaining, hating, deceiving that boss, obviously, they are not doing what they are supposed to. Because if they cannot be faithful to a human earthly boss, how can they be faithful to the Most High whom they haven't seen? So, and I shall punish on that day all who leap over the threshold, who fill their masters' houses with violence and deceit. And on that day, there shall be, declares Yahweh, the sound of a cry from the fish gate, and of a howling from the second quarter, and of a great crashing from the hills. The fish gate is a gate in Jerusalem. As we know, Mashiach said that he came to make us fisher of men, as he told his disciples. So the fish gate would be the gate through which those who believe the disciples would enter. The fish are in the sea. Well, part of them. The sea represents Sheol, and fish represent multiplicity. So just like the many, for instance. So, and on that day there shall be, declares Yahweh, the sound of a cry from the fish gate. Also, it's interesting. So as you can see in the calendar, you see the circles right here, yellow, green, blue, purple, orange, green, etc. These are the zodiac signs, right? The constellations through which the sun goes for, or in which the sun is during the 30 days of the month. This is how it was when Mashiach came. After 2,000 years, this has changed a bit. Pretty much they all moved 1 month to the left. I mean, to the right. So Pisces, which was the end, the last month, is now the constellation of the first month, meaning when the first month begins nowadays, the constellation in heaven where the sun appears is Pisces, then Aries, then Taurus, then etc. So in the end times, the two witnesses, like the two fish, would manifest at the beginning of the year during the feast of Matzot to start the last 7 years. Since they will preach for 3.5 years, we have 1 year will take us back here, 2 years will take us back here, 3 years will take us back here, and then 6 months will take us to Yom Kippur, which is when they are killed on Eitanim. So that's why they would have to begin on the first month. And like I said, just like 2,000 years ago, the lamb was in the heavens, and that's when the lamb died. Now the fish, Pisces, are in the heavens, and now the two witnesses, like the two fish, begin. So look how this fits, because remember that each of these are houses, right? So if they are houses, they have gates. So how would one call the gate of Pisces? One could say the Pisces gate or the fish gate, right? Yahushua is the gate for the fish, because he said, I am the gate and the sheep and the shepherd. And then he said that he would make us fisher of men, for those men to go through the gate. So it is kind of like saying that everything would begin when we would go through the gate of Pisces at the beginning of the year or of the last 7 years. And it is similar, and I won't go and read that because that might take a while, to the moment when Mashiach was asked by his disciples where they were going to celebrate Pesach. And he told them, go and see, go to the city and you will see a man. So you see here, Luke 22:10. So they said to him, where do you want us to prepare? And he said to them, behold, when you have entered the city, a man will meet you carrying a pitcher of water. This image that he just put in their head is that of Aquarius, right? The constellation of Aquarius, which is a man holding a pitcher of water. This right here. But it doesn't have to do with the actual month. It has to do with the era, the age of Aquarius, which actually just began like 2 years ago. Yeah, almost 2 years ago today. So Yahushua was saying that obviously that was fulfilled in the literal sense historically, but it was written in a way so that we may understand that when the last 7 years begin, it will be during Pesach, in the time when the age of Aquarius began. And therefore, the fish or Pisces would be the constellation during that first month. So a man will meet you carrying a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house which he enters. So the house of the man with the pitcher of water. Then you shall say to the master of the house, the teacher says to you, where is the guest room where I may eat Pesach with my disciples? So this is a representation of the fact that the age of Aquarius would begin by the time the end would start. And now in TzephanYah seems to be a prophecy of the time when the year would begin, as in the gate, with the fish, meaning Pisces, which is the time in which we are living. And on that day, there shall be, declares Yahweh, the sound of a cry from the fish gate and of a howling from the second quarter, kind of confirming that is referring to the second coming, the second time, the second part that was to manifest. And well, in this case, quarter, as in the four corners of the earth, the four letters of the name Yahweh. And then it says, and of a great crashing from the hills. Howl, you inhabitants of Maktesh, for all the merchant people shall be silenced. All those weighing out silver shall be cut off. And for that, let's go to Revelation 17. Well, let me do Revelation 18. And he cried with a mighty voice, saying, Babel the great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons and a haunt for every unclean spirit and a hunt for every unclean and hated bird, meaning fallen angel. Because all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her whoring, and the sovereigns of the earth have committed whoring with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the power of her righteous living. And I heard another voice from the heavens saying, come out of her, my people. And it continues. And then, let me see, further along, it says, and the merchants of the earth weep and mourn over her because no one buys their merchandise anymore. And the merchants of the earth weep and mourn. Then also on verse 23, it says, and the light of a lamp shall not shine in you any more at all. And the voice of bridegroom and the bride shall not be heard in you anymore at all. For your merchants were the great ones of the earth. For by your drug sorcery, Greek pharmakeia. So for by your pharmacies, all the nations were led astray. So pharmacies, merchants, right? Just like what is happening right now. Howl, you inhabitants of Maktesh, for all the merchant people shall be silenced. Oh, that would be wonderful, beautiful when that happens. All those weighing out silver shall be cut off. All those who are making money through the fear of people. Those who are making money by taking away health from people, by putting poison in people. They are counting silver by killing people, so they will have to pay. Let's read this name, Maktesh, verse 11. Deep hollow, a deep hollow, just like they will go to the deep, the bottomless pit, which is hollow. Howl, you inhabitants of the deep hollow, for all the merchant people shall be silenced. All those weighing out silver shall be cut off. And at that time it shall be that I search Jerusalem with lamps and punish the men who are settled on their dregs, who say in their heart, Yahweh does no good, nor does he evil. Those people who think that Yahweh created everything and then left it to men for them to do whatever they wanted. There are some who have that doctrine, who believe that there is a creator, but he just created everything and left it alone and went away and doesn't have anything to do with what happens here. They are foolish, of course. They are deceived. Also, there are some who believe in evolution, Big Bang, so they don't believe in justice, true justice. They don't believe in true morality, well, in general, morality. For they believe everything was created, not created, made, happen by chance. So it is the same. Even though they don't believe in Yahweh, using other terms, they say that he does no good, nor does he evil. Everything happens by the power of man, as they believe to be Elohim. So they trust in their own strength, which brings a curse, in fact, as we see in Jeremiah. And at that time, it shall be that I search Jerusalem with lamps. This is important because Yahweh says that the heart of men is a lamp of Yahweh. The soul of men is the lamp of Yahweh, the neshama. So Yahweh is sending his people, not only the two witnesses, but the 144,000 to work as lamps. For they will give light. As Mashiach said, you are the light of the world. Well, he is the light, but then through him we become lights. So we are supposed to give light in order for others to be able to see the way to the Father through our example, through our words. So the two witnesses will be eventually sent to Jerusalem, where they will be killed. And that will be the testimony against those who killed them and rejected them. And at that time it shall be that I search Jerusalem with lamps and punish the men who are settled on their dregs, who say in their heart, Yahweh does no good, nor does he evil. So since Yahweh has taken, according to the human mind, so long to bring judgment, they think that he is not in charge of things. So they start doing more and more evil, acting more and more disobedient and rebellious. They believe no one is watching. And their wealth shall become plunder. All of those who are making war to make money, who are creating disease and fear to make money, their wealth shall become plunder, and their houses laid waste. And they shall build houses, but not inhabit them. So many people nowadays are making plans for a long life in this reality. They are, well, the economy is very bad, but they're trying to build a life in this reality, building houses, and they don't know that they won't enjoy those houses, even if they are able to finish them. And they shall build houses, but not inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards, but not drink their wine. When an army back in the day in Jerusalem, when Israel, they were going to war, if a person had planted a vineyard, if he had gotten married, he was told to go back to his house for a whole year and not go to fight, not go to war, so that he could enjoy that. So what he is saying here, amongst other things, is revealing how much war there will be and how there will be pretty much no mercy because Yahweh will close the door of mercy. And their wealth shall become plunder, and their houses laid waste, and they shall build houses but not inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards but not drink their wine. Yahweh says, like the New World Order says, you won't own anything, but you will be happy. Exactly. Near is the great day of Yahweh, near and hurrying greatly. The noise of the day of Yahweh. Let the mighty man then bitterly cry out. The mighty man will bitterly cry out. So the strongest, the most daring and courageous of all will be crying out bitterly, afraid, shaking. That day is a day of wrath, a day of distress and trouble, a day of waste and ruin, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, a day of a shofar and sounding against the walled cities and against the corner towers. The shofar was sounded when there was war. So that's why he's referring to these, because there will be war. There will be a time to sound the shofar. But also, like we just saw, the sixth seal is the beginning of the millennium. The seventh seal, which obviously comes right after, are the seven trumpets or shofarot. A day of a shofar and sounding against the walled cities and against the corner towers. And I shall bring distress on men, and they shall walk like blind men. This is important because it is happening because of the darkness that covers the earth spiritually. For the last would manifest like a thief in the night. And not only is there spiritual darkness, but they are also blinded from within, meaning like what we were reading in Philippos, the good news of Philippos, that when there is no light, both the blind man and the one who can see are the same, but when the light comes, then the blind man remains in darkness while the other is able to see. And I shall bring distress on men, and they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against Yahweh. So they are walking, but they don't know where they're going. Sadly, they're not going towards Yahweh. They're not going in the way of Yahweh, because they have sinned against Yahweh, and their blood shall be poured out like dust. and their flesh like dung, and their blood shall be poured out like dust, like nothing. It will be worth nothing, while the blood of Mashiach is worth everything, for it is so precious that it paid for all the souls that believe in him. Their blood, those who reject Yahweh, is like dust, meaning the food of the serpent, the lowest of all in value, in purity, and their flesh like dung, something that is completely discarded, of course, excrement. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them. They are amounting gold and silver. They think that he will deliver them. Sadly, that is the belief of most in this reality, even believers, or those who claim to be believers. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of Yahweh. So why would one seek money thinking that that will help when everything happens? Let's say you get $1 million, but next day dollar is worth nothing. Or, as everybody knows, what can you do with money when you have no health? Nothing. But wonder why you thought money was worth so much like they do in this world. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of Yahweh. And by the fire of his jealousy, the last, who is the consuming fire, who is jealous, for he is a jealous mighty one, the zeal of Yahweh. And by the fire of his jealousy, all the earth shall be consumed, for he makes a sudden end of all those who dwell in the earth. All those who dwell in the earth. And that's why we read in Revelation 12, verse 10, when Satan is kicked out of heaven, it says, and I heard a loud voice saying in the heavens. Now also, when Satan is kicked out of heaven, is the time when the seventh trumpet will sound and the chosen few will be gathered. So when I heard a loud voice saying in the heavens, now have come the deliverance and the power and the reign of our Elohim and the authority of his Messiah, for the accuser of our brothers who accused them before our Elohim day and night has been thrown down. And they overcame him because of the blood of the Lamb and because of the word of their witness, meaning the name Yahushua. And they did not love their lives to the death. They did not love this reality, this life to the death. Because of this, rejoice, O heavens. Listen to this. O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Now the chosen few will be dwelling in heaven by this moment, for they would have been harvested. Listen to what is just said here. All the earth shall be consumed, for he makes a sudden end of all those who dwell in the earth. But Yahweh promised us that he wouldn't make us go through it, as he said in Revelation 3 to the congregation of Philadelphia. So that's why here it says, O heavens, and you who dwell in them, rejoice. We will be dwellers of heaven, so that prophecy of TzephanYah won't be manifested in us. Woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, knowing that he has little time. The earth and the sea, when the two witnesses are killed, resurrected, and gone, and the chosen few have been harvested, then woe to the earth and the sea, because the prophecy of Zephaniah will begin to manifest to the fullest extent. The earth will be wiped out once the chosen few dwell in the heavens. Hope that's clear.